Hello, hello, good afternoon, good morning, good night, depending on where you are or the time you are watching us. Hey, Porcelli, how are you?
I'm good. And how about you, Karina? Excited about
I'm
today?
doing. Yes, I'm very excited to learn more about DMN, especially coming from a technical background. So, yeah. So, Porcelli, for today, we are going to have a senior software engineer who is the guy responsible for creating the DMN tooling. Is this correct?
It's absolute correct. Today, our guest is not just author of our tools in the key community, but also he created the Learn DMN in 15 minutes website that I'm quite sure he will also make a comment around that.
Learn DMN in 15 minutes. Well, this is pretty cool. And yeah, so let's invite him, Guilherme Carreiro. Welcome, Gui, to bem, Gui. How are you?
Hello, how are you? Tudo bem?
It's great to have you here, Gay.
Thank.
Hey, everyone. Zubair, Daniel, Kirill, Paulo, Rina, everyone. Hello. Send us in the chat the place from where you are watching us. I'm based in Brazil. I'm Karina, and if you don't know me yet, I'm here at every talk every Tuesday, and I hope you can join in every time too. Porcelli, where are you now?
I'm based in Westford. I'm Brazilian
Westford.
as well, but I'm living here in Westford, Massachusetts.
And you, Gui?
I'm based in São Paulo, Brazil, as well.
São
We're all
Paulo.
Brazilians here.
We
Yeah.
have people from Denmark too. Interesting. Yeah, this
Oh,
I love this connection that we can build, even if we are far from each other, right? Colombia, Fernandito. So, Gui, can you give us a short introduction about what we are going to talk today?
yeah, for sure. Well, today we're gonna talk about DMN, but I have a strong background as a developer. I work in the industry. I started working in the industry 10 years ago. I started as a Ruby on Rails programmer, and like all Ruby on Rails programmer 10 years ago, I really liked
Scaffold
Rails.
for the win.
Yeah, and I really like the all the abstractions and how Rails makes things simple. And during all these years, I'm always trying to simplify how I express my problems. I already touched Zen patterns a lot, DSLs a lot, and today I'm gonna show you how you can make your life easier with DMN, which is not just another way for expressing your problems in an easier way.
So we are going to tell developers how they can write their business logic in a different way. I want to see
Yeah.
the benefits of it, but before I bring lots of questions, I'd like to see the
Mhm.
presentation. Alex, do you have any questions you want to bring before the presentation, or will you hold it?
I will hold my questions for after the presentation, and I have so
Okay.
many.
Woo. And I hope you
Oh,
at
no.
home you have to. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop it on the chat. Me and Alex will be on the backstage talking with you on the chat and saving the questions to bring to Guilherme at the end. So Gui, feel free to share your screen.
All right. I'm
And I see
in
we
my.
have people from all over USA, Singapore, DC, Scotland. Oh my God, Czech Republic. This is awesome.
That's all.
Really nice. Gui, uh, people who are watching us can already see your screen, and wish you have a
Nice.
good presentation.
Oh, thanks, Karina. Thanks, Alex. And this talk for from a developer to other developers. So we're not going to talk a lot about code today, but it's a developer perspective about DMN. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. Let's start looking at this image here. If you Google DMN a little bit, you probably will see stuff like this. You're going to see diagrams, and you're going to see things saying that you can visually express your. Oh, sorry. You can visually express your decision logic by using this kind of visual language here. But personally, when I was learning DMN, that's not quite straightforward for me how it works. So the magic is this: everyone can open the DMN editor, It's actually a Visual Studio plugin. So this is where I'm working. I'm working building this kind of extension. And everyone can use this extension to visually create these diagrams. The diagrams is the most straightforward form of expressing your ideas, right? When you need to explain something to someone, you just grab a piece of paper, you start drawing some rectangles and circles, and you try to express what you're thinking by using these diagrams. That's why DMN is so democratic. Everyone can draw this kind of diagram by just drag and drop nodes here. The magic behind DMN is that when you save this file under the hood, the editor I built saves this kind of XML. And this XML is executed by the DMN engine. So the same thing you see when you create a DMN model is the thing that is actually executed. So it's like you grab that piece of paper you used to explain something to someone and execute this piece of paper. It's pretty straightforward. So the DMN engine creates this kind of REST service that responds to your requests based on the business logic that you visually defined here. Okay. Of course, the DMN editor, the DMN engine, everyone needs to speak the same language. We need to save this XML file following some kind of format. So we have the OMG saying to us how should I save this kind of stuff. So this is how it works. But probably you're thinking now, how can I create this kind of visual business logic? That's what you're going to understand today. I'm going to teach you how the DMN editor works in 4 simple steps. The first step is the installation. Of course, you need to have the DMN editor on your machine to start working with DMN, right? So you just need to open your VS Code, search for DMN in the extension section, and install it. And as soon as you install it, you can create a DMN asset, just like this. And how VS Code knows that it's a DMN asset? It's because it's saved with this .dmn extension. So that's it. Now you're seeing here the DMN editor. It's an input diagram. We don't have anything here, but that's it. Now you know how to install the DMN editor. The next step is to start creating our visual representation of our diagram. Let's do this. Let's drag here a decision node. And since it's a traffic violation, as you probably already noticed, the name of the asset is traffic violation.dmn. It's because we're gonna calculate the fine for some traffic violation. So that's why I created this decision fine with the input violation. Now I'm adding this other decision node called should be suspended, and another input node now called driver. So the should be suspended node uses the find decision node and the driver information to know if we should or shouldn't suspend this driver. So it's pretty much this. Is pretty straightforward. We're just dragging and dropping nodes here, correct? Just dragging and dropping shapes. Of course, you already noticed that we have other kinds of nodes here in the nodes palette, but don't be concerned with this right now. If you wanna know more about these other kinds of nodes, you can just click here and check how these other nodes work. But today, I want to teach you what really matters to start learning DMN. So what really matters is the decision nodes and the input nodes. The others you can just learn later. For now, let's focus on these 2 kinds of nodes. Okay.
And something that I'd like to highlight for those who are already used to BPMN standard, the BPMN standard, usually we read from left to right. And you can see that the DMN, we actually usually model the decision on the top. Is this correct, Gui?
Yeah, excellent reminder. When you're reading a DMN model, you read it like a tree. DMN models just look like they have this tree view because we start from the inputs and we are kind of understanding things from the bottom to the top. when everything is executed, we can talk about this later, but when everything is executed, actually everything happens at the same time because it's all declarative. But when we're reading the diagram, you can always read from the bottom to the top to this tree nature that DMN models have.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, but for now, if you look at this, you're just seeing shapes, right? You're seeing these rectangles, which are the decisions, and these rounded corner rectangles, which are our inputs. But when you look at this, it's just static. It's not alive. It's not something that we can execute. So let's give some life to this problem. Right now, you can look at each node and think of them as variables in your code. And when we create a variable, we generally give a type for each variable. And it's exactly that what we're gonna do right now. The should be suspended node, I'm gonna give to this node a raw type, a simple type. It's a string. I'm gonna return yes when the driver should be suspended, or no when not. I could use a Boolean type here as well and return true or false, but here I just prefer to return string. You can do whatever you want when you're building the same model. It's a personal opinion about this. But the other nodes has a more complex type. What's another when we think about plain old Java objects or Cogito? It's a structure with fields. So the driver structure, we have the name, we have the age, we have the points that this driver already has. About the fine, we have the points of this fine. So if the violation is too severe, probably the fine you have a number of a more severe fine for this as well. So the points will be larger. Regarding the violation itself, we can have many types of violation. We can have a parking violation. We can have a speed violation. So we have these fields here because if it's a speed violation, we want to know the actual speed and the speed limit about this violation. If the driver is driving under the influence, probably we wanna know this stuff as well. So that's pretty much like this. We need to apply some types for each node, and that's exactly what we're gonna do right now with this diagram. Because if we check this diagram right now, like if we select the driver and open the properties panel, we can see that it does not have any types undefined. So let's start creating the types here. As you already noticed, I'm opening this tab here, the data types tab, and now we're going to create these 3 types here. So let's do that. Let's create the driver type. We're going to say it's a structure type because it has some fields. The first field is name. The second field is points. Let's set here as a number. Okay. I'm just skipping the whole process here, but in the end of the day, we're going to have these 3 structures. And finally have this amount and points. Okay. Now we have our 3 complex types created. Right. Now let's open our DMN model and associate each type with each node. So driver actually has a driver type. Violation has a violation type. Fine has a fine type. It should be suspended. I'm gonna set string here. I could use Boolean as well, but I just prefer to use a string in this. And okay, it's pretty much this. Now each node of our diagram has its types, correct? The next phase of this journey with the DMN is to, and our last step here, we already know almost everything about the DMN editor. The next step is to teach how your DMN model will think. Because right now we have some shapes here, we associate these shapes with types, but what's the business logic here, right? So now we're gonna teach how the fine node and the should be suspended node will think. Let's start with the fine node. Based on the violation, we need to set an amount of money that this driver will need to pay and an amount of points that we need to add to the driver's license, okay? So that's what we're gonna do right now. We're going to use a decision table for doing this. Let's see how we're going to do that. Select the node and add the decision table here. Let's just drag this violation type and delete this. I just want to mention something about this column here. Okay. Notice here we have this violation column, violation type column. We're gonna check the type of the violation. In the second column, we're gonna check the difference between the actual speed and the speed limit. And if it's a large value, we want to be more severe about the fine. If not, we can just be more condescending with the driver, right? Let's see how we're gonna create this decision table. So it's a speed violation. The difference is less than or equal to 30, and it will cost $200, and we will apply 3 points. So I'm just keeping the whole process of creating this decision table here. But let's take a moment to look at this decision table. Look how simple it is. If you're not a programmer, you can look at this and understand that when the violation type is speed and the difference is greater than 30, you know that this driver will have 7 points on his or her driver license. So this is part of the DMN magic. You can I bet you can show this for a child, and this child will understand the rules for how this fine will be applied to the driver, right? So DMN has this kind of visual and very expressive language to show you how your business logic is being implemented. So this is quite good, because when we're coding, generally we have PR reviews. I can have my coworkers double checking what I implemented, and that's fine. That's quite good. It's quite nice to have second eyes in the logic that we implemented. But frequently the product owner, for example, can't revisit the implementation, because sometimes the product owner is not a programmer. So when we have this kind of resource in our project, you can have more eyes revisiting your business logic and checking if you correctly implemented this. And also, it's also super easy to change. It's super easy to add an extra row here and maybe apply different fines when the driver is driving under the influence, but the speed is higher or lower. And it's very straightforward to change the business logic here. So that's part of the magic of the DMN. All right, we already talked too much about the fine. Let's talk a little bit now about should be suspended node. Let's see how we're going to teach this node, how this node can think. Here, we're going to use a different decision logic. We're going to use the context decision logic, okay? So let's do how we're going to use this. Try the points, find points, and total points. Okay. Notice, contexts have this thing. When you're using a context decision logic, you can have many key value entries here. So this is very useful when you need to create something analogous to local variables on your DMN model. Here, my local variable is total points, which is the sum between the driver points and the fine points. If the sum of these two variables, which is total points, is greater than 20, yes, I should be suspended this driver, otherwise not. Let's see how we're going to implement this. Let's select literal expression here, total points greater than 20, then yes, otherwise no. Okay. But it's pretty much, this is pretty straightforward, and actually is pretty much this. Now, two things. If you want to know more about the other decision logics that DMN has, you can check the link, this link here, the Learn DMN/decision logic. And another thing that as a developer, you probably already noticed, we have a decision, a conditional statement on on our should be suspended node. This conditional statement was written by following the fill language syntax. So every time you need to write a piece of code on your DMN model, you probably use the fill language. Fill is a acronym for friendly enough expression language. When you think about fill, you can think like when you're building a spreadsheet and you write some formulas there. Fill is pretty much this. It's a simple language that everyone can understand, and it exists in the DMN context, right? Personally, I believe that fill it's a bit more expressive than Excel formulas, but they have the same purpose. It's a simple language for expressing this kind of logic. Okay. So if you want to know more about the other decision logics, you can check the link above. And if you want to know more about fill and how to write more complex fill expressions, you can check this link here. All right, now you know everything you need to know about how to use the DMN editor, but actually it's not huge at all, right? We created this model, but now we want to see this in action. That's why today we're going to have the bonus step. The bonus step is not about the DMN editor. We're going to just see how we can execute this model, just to feel that rewarding thing of seeing something that's visual being executed. That's quite nice. So to start with the execution, we open a terminal, and we will download an example project just to embed our model inside of this. Okay, so let's do some wget key group / Cogito examples archive, and let's use the latest version. Okay, let's unzip this. Okay, and let's open the DMN Quarkus example. This is the example that we're gonna use for executing our traffic violation example. Okay, but let's just remove everything that lives inside of this sample project, and let's copy the model that we just created into the source main resources directory. All right, the model that we just created is living there now. Okay, so now let's execute this project. It's pretty simple to execute. You just need to just need to execute maven clean compile Quarkus dev, and that's it. That's all you need to do to make this project run. Okay, let's wait a bit. All right. All right. If you see, if you see a terminal screen like this Quarkus reading like this, is because when you execute it, it works. Okay, so let's just test to check if our DMN service is really up and running. So let's execute a C URL to check if our DMN service is really executing running. Notice we're calling the traffic violation because the name of our asset's traffic violation, consequently the name of the model. Driver is Guilherme. Driver has 16 points, and the violation that Guilherme committed is, let's say it's a speed violation. Okay, let's say that the speed limit was 60, and the actual speed was 75. Okay, let's execute this, and very nice. Guilherme shouldn't be suspended because Guilherme had 16 points, and this is a 3 points fine. So total points of Guilherme is 19, and 19 is not greater than 20, so Guilherme shouldn't be suspended. That's quite nice, but it's just a terminal execution. CRL is so boring. So I created a simple Ruby on Rails application. I still like Rails a bit. So I created a Ruby on Rails application that consumes this DMN service. So I'd like to show you a demo of this. I believe you're gonna find it pretty cool. Let's open our
Indeed, really.
Rails application
I also
here.
love Rails, so.
Rails is cool. Oh, here we have the list of drivers, and here we have the list of violations. Okay, so here you have the drivers. Notice that Porcelli.
I shouldn't be there. I shouldn't be there. I drive quite well. I don't have any tickets. That's something wrong. Just to make a point.
Yeah, it's just for the demo. Actually, we all have 0 points on our driver's license. Oh, sorry. I always give it away. Okay. Notice that Porcelli has 15 points and I have 16. So let's open the violation screen and let's create a parking violation to Alex, because Alex committed a parking violation. Okay. Notice that the points that Alex had were increased. Now he has 17. Let's create another parking violation to Alex, because Alex never learns. It's 19 now, but notice Alex is not suspended yet. But when you create the 30 parking violation, let's create this, and yeah, you can see that now Alex has 21 points, and Alex was suspended. Let's create another violation now for Karina, just for showing an example. Let's say that Karina was driving under the influence. It's a very severe violation. Okay, let's create this, and we can see that the points were increased, and Karina was automatically suspended. Sorry, and that's pretty much this. An interesting thing about this example, and now that you know how you create that model, you know that that I didn't write a single line on Ruby code of the business logic. All the business logic lives in the DMN model, and the Ruby on Rails application is just consuming that business logic. Okay, and if you want to have a different fine for driving under the influence, for example, we want to have different fines if the driver was driving fast or slow. You can just change that decision table, and your application will automatically work with that. So this is a quite cool thing. Let's revisit the controller of this Rails application. Here we have the create method in the violations controller, but let's ignore everything related to Rails here and pay attention to this part. We're executing the DMN model, and I'm passing just the violation because the violation has a field driver, okay? And we're increasing the points of the driver based on the fine points, and we're suspending the driver based on the decision node that decides if the driver should or shouldn't be suspended. So it's simple as this. So notice that you can change the decision logic of these two nodes, and everything everything it does not live in the Rails application. It's transparent. So it's a pretty straightforward change if you want to change your business logic here. If you want to check the rest of the code, you can check this repository. It's my GitHub account here, and the name of the repository is DMN on Rails example. And also, let's review everything that we learned today. Okay, let's just check if we really remember everything. Today you learned how to install the VS Code extension for creating DMN models. You learned the main visual notation that you need to learn to start working with DMN. You learned how to create complex types like driver that has fields. And you learned how to teach your DMN model to think with the decision logic. So you learned these four things, these four important things. You also had the bonus step teaching you how to execute this model. If you want to know more about how DMN works, I highly recommend this book. You can click on this simple URL, bit.ly/DMN Cookbook. It's an excellent book with real-world examples. The co-author, Edson Tirelli, will be here on KieLive soon. I'm not going to say when because I don't want any spoiler here. But it's an excellent book and it teaches me everything I know about DMN. But before reading this book, I highly recommend you to check this website. It's the Learn DMN in 15 Minutes. It's a quick course that I created to show you the main topics regarding the DMN, this DMN stuff. I highly recommend you check this course before the book, because I believe you're going to have a much pleasant to read. Now, with this course, you know the main topics, where everything lives. So I believe it will clarify things. And also, this course itself, it's an open source project, so you can, if you find anything that's not clear, you can just submit a pull request, and I will be glad on merging it, because I really want to have a great introductory course for DMN. This is the purpose of this. And that's all. Thank you for attending. All these slides will live on my website, with karreiro.com/talks. This is my blog as well, if you want to read something, the stuff I write. So feel free to access that. But of course, we'll have this KieLive with the slides as well available after it's finished. So that's all. Thanks.
Yoo-hoo, very nice, very nice.
Yeah, and not so fast. We have a lot of questions now.
Yes, let's start from the basics. So we had a question like, so what is the main difference in between like BPMN and DMN? Is it only the way we read it?
Yeah, and DMN has this purpose of decomposing the decision logic into these smaller decision nodes with this clear tree view. So the purpose of DMN is a bit different. The purpose is to control this kind of the decision process.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like, just to add, I think that BPMN is more focused on modeling the whole business process, as on the other hand, we have DMN to model the decisions that we will take. So we can invoke DMN from within a BPMN diagram. So you can see it like with this perspective.
Yeah, and it's, if you think the BPMN, it's a level above that orchestrates the thing. So you do this and you do that and followed by that. And one of these steps is the decision that you need to make. Should I go this way or should I go that way? Or to make it, an action in a further step, I need some reasoning, and that's where the decision logic is very useful. But I have a question. Oh, sorry, Karina.
Please go on.
The one thing that was topic in the chat is, okay, we have DMN, and what's the difference between DRL? Business versus business decision logic. Can you help us?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, probably I will do a spoiler. Next week, Edson will be talking exactly about that. But
you couldn't hold it, right? I'm just kidding.
I couldn't. I'm so excited that I will watch it for sure. But
so the guy that Guilherme Carreiro is talking about is Edson Tirelli, and he will be here on the next KieLive. So we'll be talking about this at the end. Please go on, Gui.
Yes, yeah, he is the co-author of the amazing book. But summarizing things is that when you have a DRL or a guided decision table, you have a bunch of rules representing your business logic. But when you have a DMN doing the same thing, you decompose your business logic into this decomposed decision, where you can have a decision table with rules, you can have your other decision nodes with other kinds of decision logic. So summarizing, DMN is more about decomposing your decision process than creating rules from your decision logic, from your business decision, from your business logic. So.
Cool. And I will keep asking. Sorry, Karina. I'm so excited in this topic. So you mentioned feel, and I will connect with another question that I have in the chat that if DMN is less coupled than DRL. And can you help us understand field, how it is related to the capabilities of DRL and how powerful this can be?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that Phil and DRL lives in at the same level. Why we have the DRL represent the whole your whole business logic. The Phil is just a small part of the DMN. I would say that DRL is more at the boxed expression or decision logic level, right? To be honest, I wouldn't say that one you can solve both your business problem with both solutions. I believe that DMN with boxed expressions and this decision tree is more expressive than DRLs, but DRLs are capable to solve the same kind of problem. So I believe it's just a matter of how you want to represent the same thing.
Yeah, they complement each other also. You can use both on the same project. It's not an issue. And Gui, now back to your project. How did you come up with that pom.xml? We have a couple of questions on the project itself that you demoed. So let's start from the creation of the project. You have a POM. Where did it came from?
Yeah. If you, I'm gonna quickly share my screen.
Sure.
I believe
Please go on.
You will clarify things. Okay. Yeah. This sample project came from here. I'm gonna just show you a bit.
And you will have to increase the font size, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. Oops.
Okay.
Yeah, we have this Cogito example project. So the project that I was using was the DMN Corpus project.
It's too small, my friend. Please increase it.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry. No, sorry. I'm looking at so it's so close that I can notice. But yes, we're using this project, and the POM came from here. So you can open this POM and check the dependencies that we have inside of this. But here we are just using the sample project as the base of our example. You can create your own POM and add these dependencies to create your DMN service. I'm gonna just link this in the chat. So, oops, no, it's not this chat. It's the KieLive chat. So I'm gonna send you Karina, and then you can share with the others. Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Let me grab it here. So this is the pom.xml. So if you are starting a project from scratch, you could either create, for example, a Cogito project using the archetype. You could either add the extension to a Quarkus project, the Cogito extension to the Quarkus project. Or if you were using JBPM rules, you could create a project like in Business Central, for example, or Decision Central. So in either way, we'll come up with a project that supports the modeling and execution of DMN.
Yeah. Another question that we have early about the project that you demo for us is when you created this magical Rails application. So give us a better understanding. I think you cheated there. So you code and you didn't show to us.
Were there like two projects? So you have a project that you showed in VS Code, which contains the DMN, and you have another project just to invoke this one. So just talk a little bit about this architecture and how did you came out of a simple diagram to a REST endpoint? What was that?
Oh yeah, are you still seeing my screen?
Yes, but I'm waiting for you to switch the tab. Okay.
Okay, thanks. All right. Okay, let me show the what we have behind the scenes. Okay, let's open my GitHub here. And let's open the DMN on Rails example. Okay. All right. Here we have in the app directory. Probably it lives in here. Controllers, concerns, DMN Model. That method called execute that I called what we have behind the scene is this. I was making a post request into our traffic violation service, and I was passing into the body of this request my violation. So how I create the parameters is I use like this. I have the violations of parameter here. So I create the driver input and the violation input, and then I execute the request. And in the end, I just convert the response to a hash. And as you can look, I'm converting twice. I didn't need that. And as soon as we convert this to a hash, you can see here in the create methods of the violations controller that I'm using the hash that is returned by this execute method here. So I'm bringing the points from the file nodes. Oh, go ahead, sir.
So you are invoking a REST and via REST, just sending a JSON. I think that JSON is pretty simple, actually. It's just the data object in JSON format, and that's it. But where did the URL actually came from in that project?
Yeah, the REST endpoint. Can you explain?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. The REST endpoint lives here because I was running.
That one, the traffic violation. Exactly. Yeah. How did you create that? We didn't see you code in it.
This is created automatically when you make your decisions, your DMN service up and running. But when you, let me open this a little, let's open this quick fast. When you create a DMN model, you create this with this name, traffic violation.dmn. It's taking a bit, I don't know why. You create your DMN model called traffic violation, and if you open if you click here in the name of the diagram and see the properties, you can see that
font size.
The name. Yeah, thanks.
Font size.
You can see.
Thank you.
Oh, let me put this and this. Okay. And when we can see that the name of the model is traffic violation, but the name of the model is traffic violation just because the name of the file, I created the file name at traffic violation. So for convention, the name of the decision, the DMN model is traffic violation, okay? So when you put your DMN model inside of this directory here in the DMN Quarkus example project, it will create automatically an endpoint for you. I have a problem with this word today. An endpoint to you. With the same name. So the endpoint is auto-created when you have a DMN model with this name here. If I change the name here to blah, 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 I would need to change the name here to blah, blah as well. So you always need to respect the name that you set here.
Yeah, I think that is due to... That is perfect. I think that is due to the Cogito plugin that is running there, and it can abstract the name of the model and generate the endpoints automatically. So when you create that project and you compile it, if you go to the target directory, you can actually see the endpoint in there. So this is Quarkus working for us and generating all these endpoints for us. And I'm sorry, this is Cogito working for us. Yes. And so yeah, I love this. And the same works for BPMN files too.
Yeah, this kind of convention instead of configuration, I believe it's really helpful and make developers' life much more simple. I like that.
Yeah, I have one more question, Guy. It's regarding you talk about the field, but would it be possible from my DMN using field or any other resource to call a logic that I already have defined in a utility Java class? Would it be possible to have this interaction?
Yes. You can use this kind of node here to make this kind of call. You can call your Java class here.
Yeah.
How can you call this? You can say, I'm gonna call here a Java class. And here you can just say the name of the class, like I believe it's lang math. I don't remember the package, but you can call the math class like this and call like this. And you need to say to DMN that you're calling a method that has a double as a signature, and you need to see to DMN that the return of this method will be a number. And let's rename this to a more expressive name like Java Poo. And you need to say to DMN that this node will receive 2 parameters like this number, and that's pretty much this. I have this blog post. It's a pro tip about how to use DMN.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah, let's get
maybe I talk
more
to
chat.
Let me do this.
Send it in the chat, and I can share it with the people who are watching us. Good, thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Gabe. Very helpful.
So we have a question here. If the Decision Central, which is the same as Business Central, can generate DMN models that can be compiled with Cogito. So Alex, I think you did a really cool presentation on Summit. Could you just give an overview of what you did in there?
Yeah, so the Cogito, first, step back, we are talking about a standard. DMN is OMG-based standard. And these, as a standard, it has the standardized format. So the XML file that is behind the scenes is a standard. It's not Cogito, it's not the rules, it's not anything. It can be interchanging different tools. It's possible to do, you can, and the decisions defined be in Business Central or Decision Central, or in these tools that Guilherme has presented, can be shared completely because they are a standard. That's where the compatibility stops, because Decision Central and Business Central targets a different runtime. That's not Quarkus, and is not the same setup. So that they are different. They are the V7 that we call, the 7 stream, and Cogito is our community project. That's our next generation of business automation.
Correct. And as you said, you can generate DMN among very different tools. So you could use the VS Code plugin, you could use the browser available website, browser-based available website that you can just access on dmn.new. You could use Decision Central, and all those would generate DMN files. So the runtime is different from the tooling. So just have that in mind, and you can take the best decision for your environment. Okay, you're sharing something, Gui? I have here your screen shared now.
Yeah, I was just showing that, users can just type dmn.new, you open this website, and then they can just click here and save, and they will download the DMN nest that they can execute by using the DMN Quarkus example application. So they can perform the same steps that I just did on VS Code by using dmn.new website.
That's great. And I will also, there is another question. DMN is a visual tool, and how you can do the diffs. And I pasted a link to a blog post that I have that shows our tool.
For Charlie.
Yep.
You cannot paste the link with your own user. Please post it here via our Twitch. Yes. But please go on. Then you post the link.
Okay. I'm still getting used to this. It's a lot of places. So that is a link that shows our GitHub extensions. It's a browser-based extensions that augment the experience in GitHub. So instead you see the diff in text file, you are able to do diffs in visual format. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's basically a browser extension, right?
Correct.
That can parse what is there in GitHub.
Yeah.
And it's linked to GitHub too, right, Alex? So you cannot use it in other types of I don't know, Bitbucket.
Not today.
Okay, good.
Focus on GitHub.
Perfect. Can I call a DMN in another DMN?
Yeah. You can do this on the browser version because we don't have a file system here, right? Okay. But in the VS Code extension, since we have a directory here, you can just click on this tab here, the included models tab, and then you can include a DMN inside of the other DMN, and the nodes will appear here. You see, it's quite interesting, and you see the nodes here from the other DMN file. You can just reuse this node. So if you have a here decision table, another DMN file, and you don't want to rewrite it, you can just include the DMN inside of the other and reuse that decision node. It's works pretty much like that.
Excellent, excellent. I just removed your screen from the screen sharing. So if you wanna, yeah. And Guy, I'd like to thank you very much for the session today. I learned a lot, and I could interact a lot with you, who's home too. And I love when that happens. So thanks, Guy, for being here, for sharing all this knowledge. I already added your slides to the repo where we keep all the slides from the key presentations. Still, if people want to connect to you, let me send again your blog. If they want to stay in, like, know what you're going to do, your posts, and everything else. So I think that's it. Alex?
Yeah, and that's it. Thank you very much, Guy. It was very helpful. I'd say that was a little bit more than a getting started experience. We dig a little bit deeper than I was thinking about. It was awesome.
Oh, thank you, Alex. Thank you, Karina. It was a pleasure. I can come back anytime.
Yoo-hoo! I will remember that. Bye, Guy.
Thank you, Guy.
Alex, I loved the talk today. And I think we already got started with BPMN and DMN. So what we have next for the next week?
And that, well, Guy already stole my thunder. So we're gonna have Edson that will talk about the business rules, and we'll have a even better understanding the relationship between all these things: DMN, BPMN, and DRL.
Exactly. And why should we use a rule engine? Why does it matter? Why don't I simply code my logic with ifs and else?
Yeah, that's the most frequent question. Is business rule a way to write ifs and else's? We're asking back quick.
Yeah, awesome. So if you're into business rules, if you want to know more, if you want to ask from basic to advanced questions, just join us next Tuesday. And I think that's it. Thank you for joining us today, and see you next Tuesday.
Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.